This is Tony Jeffries and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Alright, so let's wake you all up properly, shall we? Let's have a little bit of a rant and a rage when it comes to the British Boxing Board of Control. Not that it'll do any good, but we're going to do it anyway. I think I'll probably speak for a very high 90-odd% of British boxing fans when I say it's time the British Boxing Board of Control, Robert Smith and co, closed the curtains, left that front door in Cardiff, locked the door and throw the keys away. Don't return. Because I don't know what you do, so therefore I don't feel that you're needed in British boxing. Because whenever I hear Robert Smith talk, all I want to do is boil my own plums, because he just deflects everything. That's what he does. He doesn't take responsibility, he deflects. It's not our fault, it's their fault. We're not the reason that boxing's in the gutter, it's other people. You don't take any onus on yourself. And quite honestly, when I look at the British Boxing Board of Control, all I see is a bunch of old geriatrics who's been in that job way too long, who are way too comfortable, who've got one foot in the grave and the other one slipping with their oxygen mask on their face. It's absolutely ridiculous that you cannot make a simple decision. I'll give you an example. In fact, I'll give you plenty of examples in this video. One of them being the latest one, Robert Smith, the General Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control, i.e. the head honcho. Quite how he got that job, I don't know. Now, I would say it's time for him to retire, but what's the point? Because his successor will just be a carbon copy of him. That's what they're trained to do. Just like Robert Smith is a carbon copy of his predecessor, right? Now, he goes on to TalkSport, talk about the Amir Khan situation. And what is it he says? Well, yeah, we knew about it when Amir Khan did, i.e. a year ago. But why didn't you tell anybody? Why didn't you tell the world? Well, it's confidentiality. We abide by the rules of UKAD, like what UKAD do with all other kinds of sports. We don't give a rat's furry ass what it is that UKAD do in other sports. We care what they do in boxing, and clearly it ain't enough. It ain't good enough. Now, he did concede that things take too long, right? But yet at the same time defends UKAD by saying that they are fit for purpose, that their process is good. Basically, what you're doing, Robert Smith, is hiding behind the skirts of UKAD. That's all you're doing, like you always do. You hide behind other people. When it came to the Conor Benn situation, why didn't you pull him up when he first failed a test, when we were waiting on the WBC? Okay, a month later, well, what about a second test? Well, we're still going to be waiting on the WBC. When it came to the whole Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields pulling that event when the Queen passed away. Well, we're waiting to see what other sports do. Let's wait and see what the Premier League does. Basically, you're going to piggyback of what other people do because you are incapable of making decisions yourself. What good are you? We could do provide some referees and judges and a timekeeper and whatever else to the events. Well, I could do that. So what good are you? What exactly do you do? I can write out a rule book. I can do that in a couple of days. Easy. And be more watertight than yours. And a lot more fairer. It's ridiculous. Deflecting. Amir Khan, you knew about this a year ago, Robert Smith. Yeah, but we're waiting on UKAD. What makes it worse, right, is that you got Ben Shalom, the poor guy. He's getting ramped up with interviews about the whole Amir Khan situation, because obviously he was a promoter for Amir Khan, Kell Brook, and he's saying, I knew nothing about it. I didn't know anything about Amir Khan and this PED situation. I knew nothing about it. I found out at the same time as you lot did, via social media. But yeah, isn't it the rules that UKAD will inform the British Boxing Board of Control, the promoter and the fighter? Isn't that something, some kind of rough vicinity, right? But yet, UKAD didn't tell Ben Shalom. Robert Smith and British Boxing Board of Control didn't tell Ben Shalom. He didn't find out about it until the rest of us did. And then he's asked, well, did Robert Smith know? He says, well, I asked Robert Smith if he knew, and he said, well, that he only found out yesterday. So basically Robert Smith, the British Boxing Board of Control, found out 24 hours about Amir Khan before the rest of us. But as it turns out, he's done an interview with TalkSport, and what happens? Yeah, actually, I knew about it the same time Amir Khan did, a year ago. So basically you lied to Ben Shalom is what you've done, or you used very clever words with Ben Shalom. Ben Shalom's out there saying the British Box Board of Control didn't know anything about it because you let him believe that. Absolutely disgusting is what it is. Absolutely disgusting. I don't know what fit for purpose the British Box Board of Control are. I don't get it. Why is he deflecting all the time? Why are you so cowardly? Now, if it's like little people, I'm sure the British Box Board of Control, Robert Smith, will go straight after them, no problem. But when it comes to others, nah, not at all. You're too gutless. You can't make decisions yourself. You call yourself the British Box Board of Control, but what exactly do you control? What do you control in boxing? What do you do? You pinch a living, it appears. You're not doing anything that nobody else could do. You're not doing anything. Now, I hear other promoters in that saying, well, the British Box Board of Control, they do have some very good points. Okay, they're talking about the medical response. The medical response, that is the NHS, is what it is. And how do I know it's the NHS? I've been to many, 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 many shows, and I've spoken to the emergency response teams, the ambulance drivers, and all these kind of people. They're NHS workers who are at the boxing shows on their time off to earn a little bit extra money. So it's not actually the British Box Board of Control with their fast medical response time. It's the NHS. I don't know what you do. You keep deflecting. When it comes to the Conor Benn situation, what did you do? Nothing. Until what? Fight week? And all the time, you're deflecting it. I was Eddie Hearn this. I was Eddie Hearn that. I was Conor Benn this. I was Conor Benn that. What about you? You control British boxing, right? What did you do? Well, we're waiting on the WBC. Oh, really? How about making decisions yourself? Well, we can't because they put subpoenas on us and threatened us. But nobody seems to have heard of this, apparently. But okay, if they did, shouldn't it be in your rule book that if somebody fails a test, regardless of whether it's UKAD or other, that you have the right to pull the show and remove their license and suspend them immediately? And if it's not in your rule book, it should be. It's not like the British Boxing Board of Control and Robert Smith are new to the party here. They've been in boxing for a very, very, very long time. Too long. Your rule book should be watertight. And if it isn't, it goes back to my point. What is it that you do? What do you do? I don't get what you do. I don't get it. I don't get why these promoters, these cowardly promoters with TV deals, why are you not all getting together and going, right, we need to create a new board here because this lot are useless. Every time something goes wrong, what do? Try and deflect it onto us. Let's create a new board. Let's get rid of them. Why don't we go with Bieber? I want to give them like a 12-month trial. Let's see how we get on. Let's create a new board. Let's have Sport and Icon run it, right? By the way, if anybody's got like a lot of money out there, hey, we can start up a new board, all right? And yes, your money, not mine. So I don't know why the promoters are not doing anything. You see, they whittle and say how they want change, but do they really want change? Do they? Because they don't seem to be doing much, other than whittling about certain things, but then doing nothing. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to speak to Robert Smith. Oh, well, what a whole fat load of good that does. You're going to speak to Robert Smith. He can't make a decision himself. I'll be surprised if he even decides what he's going to have for dinner each day. I don't know what they do. I'm not saying that everybody on the British Box Board of Control are bad people. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying Robert Smith is a bad person. What I'm saying is there's too many people there who are far too comfortable. There's too many loopholes. There shouldn't be any loopholes. Too much deflection going on. Too much hiding behind the skirts of UKAD and the WBC. Quite what the WBC's got to do with Conor Benn, I don't know anyway. And you've got the British Box Board of Control apparently corner around all the commissions around the world to try and stop Conor Benn fighting. Well, what's that got to do with you? I'm not saying that they're wrong for doing that, by the way. But what I am saying is, what's that got to do with you? What other commissions do? Conor Benn is not a British Boxing Board of Control licence holder. Why are you getting involved in it? As I said before, I agree, Conor Benn should not be fighting, but what's it got to do with the British Boxing Board of Control? It's out of your jurisdiction. What can you do? Nothing. But every time I hear him speak, Robert Smith, is like he's deflecting. And you have people over there at TalkSport, let's be honest, they're so-called boxing experts. Every time I hear them speak, every single time I'm hearing mistakes. Quite honestly, I know more about today's era of boxing than them lot combined. It's ridiculous. Again, since when has Simon Jordan been the spokesperson for British boxing fans? Since when? By the way, he seems like a cool guy. I like him. But the point is, when he has the opportunity to nail these other people, he doesn't do it. You're quite happy to try and nail Eddie Hearn, but not the other ones, and then claim that he was trying to with the other ones. No, you weren't. There's plenty of things that you could have said about Frank Warren. There's plenty of things you could have said to Robert Smith and many others, but you don't. End of the day, I don't know what purpose the British Boxing Board of Control have. If you don't make decisions on bans and suspensions and all that kind of stuff, then what good are you? Basically, all you are is an agency who will hire out referees and whatever else. Again, why is it that Jeffrey Hines, that case still has not been resolved? How many years later? Ian John Lewis is left. Do you have any black referees and judges? Do you have any? If you do, let me know how many you've got in total, and let me know how many of those are black. Please? I'll be very curious about it. Again, I'm saying it's deliberate. What I'm saying is, I'd like to know. I would. Because something ain't right over there. Something ain't right. Your rule book should be tight. Your answers should be on point. You should be making decisions without having to look at other people to make decisions, but you don't. Fit for purpose, my arse. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.